Marcus had only been in the building for 30 seconds, and already everyone was staring. The receptionist dropped her pen. Security leaned forward in his chair. And then him. Richard Blake. The man who refused to shake his hand 3 years ago. The man who called him unfit. Stood frozen in his office doorway, watching the man he rejected return. As the new CEO. Pause. Let that sink in. Marcus enters Grafton Tech in a crisp navy suit. Fresh college graduate. 2 internships. Fluent in 4 programming languages. A young black man with ideas far bigger than his resume could capture. He walks with confidence toward the HR desk, but even before opening his mouth, he feels it. The stares. Whispers. Another one. He sits before Richard Blake, senior hiring manager. Richard doesn't smile. He doesn't ask about Marcus' work. He doesn't look him in the eye. Through the entire 12-minute interview, Richard never once acknowledges Marcus' achievements. Never says good job or interesting idea. Instead, he leans back with a smirk, folds his arms, and says, "Marcus, I'm sure you're a nice young man, but we're looking for someone who fits our culture here. Someone who blends in." That phrase, fits our culture. Marcus heard what wasn't spoken. No thanks. Not your kind. Marcus nodded and walked out. But with every step away from Grafton Tech, his walk turned into a mission. Marcus went home, defeated but not broken. He wouldn't let a racist hiring manager define him. So he built. He built from scratch. He coded through sleepless nights. He pitched his ideas to investors who said no, until one finally said yes. That yes led to a tech startup. That startup led to a game-changing AI data security system. That system led to corporate attention. Within 3 years, Marcus' company was valued at over $80 million. Then came the call. A massive tech conglomerate wanted to acquire his software and offer him a position of power. But not just any position. Marcus had one condition. "I want to lead a division. A big one." They asked where. He didn't hesitate. Grafton Tech. He walks back through the same lobby, past the same receptionist who didn't smile at him, past security who once didn't even check his name. Everyone watches. Whispers echo through the hall. Who is that? Is that Marcus Johnson? Didn't they turn him down before? He's the new Zvo. And finally, Richard Blake. Now older. Grayer. But that same arrogant posture, until his eyes meet Marcus. His smirk is gone. He steps forward, disbelief etched into his face. "Marcus? You're the new CEO." Marcus stares him down. That's right. The same man who wasn't good enough for your culture. Richard swallows hard. He opens his mouth, searching for an apology, an excuse, but nothing comes out. Marcus walks past him, up the glass staircase, into the CEO's office. The same office Richard always thought he'd end up in. Later that day, a company-wide meeting takes place. Marcus steps on stage. He doesn't talk about profits. He doesn't talk about products. He talks about bias. About how talent is ignored because of assumptions. How many doors stay closed, not because someone isn't qualified, but because someone is uncomfortable with their skin. Everyone goes silent. Then Marcus says, "Let me be clear. This company will no longer be built on exclusion. It will be built on excellence." The audience erupts into applause. Richard stares down at the floor. Marcus looks directly at him. Richard Blake. He announces loud enough for the whole room to hear. Will no longer serve as senior hiring manager. Gasps all around. But then, Marcus adds, he will remain an employee, under a new supervisor. Someone who understands what diversity means. Richard looks up, confused. That's when Angela Carter, the new head of talent acquisition, a black woman with 20 years in HR, stands and shakes Marcus' hand. Richard's jaw drops. The power has shifted. And it's not just personal. It's historic. They tried to deny him a chair at the table. So he built a new table, and put them in the seats they once thought were theirs. This wasn't revenge. This was justice. Because sometimes, The best way to respond to prejudice is not to fight it, but to outgrow it. But just when Marcus thought the past was behind him, an email lands in his inbox. Subject: urgent, former employee lawsuit against Grafton. One name stands out: Richard Blake. And at the bottom, a note from legal. He claims reverse discrimination. He's filing against you. Marcus leans back in his chair. He's beaten him once. But this time, the battle isn't in the boardroom. It's in court. 5 years ago, he was rejected, not because of his lack of skill, but because of his skin. He walked into this office with hope, and walked out with humiliation. Today, the same man returns. Not as an employee begging for a chance, but as the new ruler of the fortress that once rejected him. The tables have turned. Power doesn't forget. The walls that saw you crawl will one day watch you rise. The truth is simple. Those who judged you from the surface never saw the storm beneath it. And now, that storm moves from silence into command. This is not revenge. This is balance. You denied me respect. You denied me a chance. But life denied you comfort. Just when justice found its way home, something darker crept in the shadows. An anonymous claim. A board-wide accusation. A threat to remove the very leader who just arrived. Someone still blinded by hate. Still clinging to the past. Still afraid of what true progress looks like. They said success was the end. But success is just the battlefield dressed in gold. And when power shifts, envy follows. The truth is coming for someone. And when it does, every story told in secret will scream in daylight. Sometimes the biggest enemy is the one we never see coming. When the king rose to the throne, he thought the war was over, but the crown only made him a bigger target. Inside wasn't proof of his lies, but evidence of a trap. Someone was planning his fall long before he ever stepped in as CEO. They didn't just want him fired. They wanted him erased, ruined, stamped with the same labels they once silenced him with. But something wasn't right. This wasn't sent from outside. It came from inside the company. He worked his whole life to prove them wrong, only to discover that some battles don't end at the finish line. They start there. The envelope reads, "You're being targeted, but not by who you think." An invisible hand, reaching out from the shadows. Is it a foe? Or the first sign of an unexpected ally? A voice from behind the walls whispers. There are whispers in the halls. Talk of votes. Talk of removal. Talk of taking the crown away. The king doesn't just face the ghosts of his past, but the monsters still hiding in plain sight. They brought back the one person who shaped the system against him. It wasn't enough to beat him. They wanted him to witness the resurrection of the very force that pushed him out once before. The CEO stands outside, fists clenched. Behind the door, his fate is being decided. Cut to black just as the door begins to open. The same hands who denied him the chance to rise now gather to erase him for good. Power doesn't change people. It reveals them. And tonight, masks were about to fall. They smiled in his face during the day. But in the dark, they planned his downfall. They called it a vote. He called it what it really was, revenge dressed in protocol. They accused him of financial misconduct, forged numbers, hidden dealings. But what they didn't know was that the evidence they relied on came from his own investigation. He didn't set the trap to catch their lies. He set it to reveal who was willing to tell them. Guilt. It has a sound. Like glass cracking before it shatters. They confessed. For years, they mistook his silence for weakness. What they never understood was that silence can be a strategy. They tried to take his chair, but forgot who built the table. They laughed when they thought he'd never rise. Now, they couldn't look him in the eye, because the same prejudice they used to destroy others had just destroyed them. He opens it slowly. Inside, a short, chilling note written in black ink. You think the battle is over, but this company was never really yours. The real enemy was never outside the door. It's been sitting at the table the whole time.